The new coronavirus pandemic has raised a lot of pressing questions about things that used to seem pretty set in stone. When it comes to washing fruits and vegetables, for instance, what used to be a simple question of cleanliness has taken on a new level of importance. We know that coronavirus appears to spread mainly through respiratory droplets from people who have the infection. But we also know it's possible to pick it up by touching contaminated objects and then touching your face. Those facts can make the produce section of the grocery store somewhat nerve-wracking. In this video, we've broken down how to wash fruit and vegetables to stay as safe as possible right now. So exactly how big is the danger? There's currently no evidence of food or food packaging being linked with cases of COVID-19. There's also evidence that COVID-19 tends to have poor survivability on surfaces overall. This translates into a very low risk of getting the new coronavirus from food or food packaging that is shipped over days or weeks at normal, refrigerated, or frozen temperatures. Still, with so many unknowns circulating along with the virus, it's understandable if you feel like taking some extra precautions and want to know how to wash fruit and vegetables as well as you can. And that's fine. Washing fruit and vegetables was a recommended practice even before this pandemic because your produce can come into contact with a lot of stuff before it winds up at home with you. The biggest threat from your food produce isn't coronavirus. It's the various pathogens that can cause foodborne illness. It's estimated that every year around 48 million people in the U.S. contract foodborne illnesses from products contaminated with pathogens like Salmonella, E. coli, Listeria, norovirus, and hepatitis. The good news is that there are standards in place to minimize the number of pathogens entering the produce system, but it's still a good idea to wash your fruit and veggies before eating them. So is rinsing your fruit and vegetables enough? According to experts, washing your produce with water is usually enough to remove the majority of stray pathogens. And even so, consuming something with a few germs on it likely won't make most people sick. Unless someone is immune compromised, the human body can generally do a good job of dealing with a few unsavory microbes here and there. Rinsing your produce will also remove any pesticide residue that remains on your fruit and vegetables in non-threatening amounts. Let's cover the best way to wash fruit and vegetables. 1. Wash your hands. First things first, before you do anything with your produce, make sure to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds following these steps. Whatever microbes are present on your hands will easily be transferred to the food you're preparing unless you wash them first. 2. Wash your produce under running water. Now that your hands are washed, rinsing produce with running water and rubbing it with your hands is good enough to clean the majority of fruit and vegetables enough to eat. In most cases, that's enough to get rid of 90 to 99% of the microbes present. There's no need to whip up a vinegar wash or waste money on a fancy produce spray. In fact, the FDA actually does not recommend using any kind of soaps, detergents, or special washes to clean produce. It's simply not necessary. 3. Don't worry about produce with peels. Even though it may not seem like you need to wash produce with hard exteriors or peels like melons, pineapples, and oranges, you actually should. When you cut into these items, you can push microbes from the surface into the part of the produce that you're going to eat. So always wash hard-skinned produce or anything with a peel before you start peeling or cutting it. 4. Use baking soda if you wish. If cold water just doesn't sound like enough to you, then an extra step would be a baking soda bath. A recent study found that a baking soda soak is the most effective method of removing pesticide residue from apples, even when compared to Clorox bleach, which should obviously not be used on food. To do a baking soda bath, clean and sanitize your kitchen sink, then fill it with cold water. Next, add a teaspoon of baking soda, then submerge your fruits and vegetables to the bath and let them soak for 12 to 15 minutes, then scrub harder items and those with rinds with a vegetable brush. Thoroughly dry all items before eating. 5. Consider washing your ready-to-eat produce. You don't technically need to worry about washing any pre-washed, ready-to-eat produce, but if you decide to go for it because you're taking an abundance of caution right now, there's no reason why you shouldn't. 6. Enjoy your produce immediately. No matter what fruit or vegetable you're dealing with, you should normally wait to wash it until just before you eat it. Washing produce adds excess moisture and creates an environment that makes it easier for potentially harmful pathogens to breed, especially in the case of fruit and vegetables that soak up a lot of water. That's why, in general, it's best to avoid washing anything right when you get home from the store unless you're eating it pronto. If you've purchased something at the supermarket that's particularly dirty and you'd rather wash it before storing it, just be sure to dry it thoroughly before transferring it to the refrigerator. 7. Wash your hands again. Once you're done washing your fruit and vegetables, you should wash your hands again. That way you'll make sure your hands and the food are as clean as possible before you start eating and put your fingers close to your mouth. The following fruits and veggies are the exception to the rinse and rub rule. 1. Root vegetables. When it comes to produce that's pulled directly from the ground and is usually covered in soil, such as potatoes, carrots, and any other kind of root veggie, a rinse and gentle rub often isn't enough to completely remove dirt, which can be a source of pesticides and pathogen. You can use a dish rag or a sponge to scrub them clean. No tool does the job better than a vegetable brush with firm bristles. You can buy one of those online if you don't have one already. Using the brush, scrub while holding the item under running water, making sure to scrub off any visible dirt. 2. Berries. It's no secret that berries are extremely fragile. It's hard to even make it home from the supermarket without crushing some of them. With that in mind, it's important to be extremely gentle with berries, so the opposite of what you should do with the root veggies. The easiest way to wash berries is to place them in a colander and rinse them under a slow stream of running water. You should absolutely never soak berries because they act like a sponge and soak up a lot of water, which negatively impacts both their flavor and texture. In the case of strawberries, you also don't want to remove stems before washing, as that will create another way for the berries to absorb water. 3. Leafy greens. The tricky thing with lettuce and other leafy greens is that soil can get stuck on each individual leaf, so a simple rinse usually won't be enough to ensure they're all totally clean. Instead, it's better to fill a bowl with cold water and gently toss the leaves back and forth in it until you can't find any more dirt, because this method allows you to get rid of all that soil. Then give the produce in question one last rinse under running water to ensure you wash everything you don't want to be eating right down the drain. It's hard not to overthink the risk of bringing anything into our homes right now, but when it comes to food from the grocery store, it helps to be able to separate fact from fiction, especially when the facts show that it's not as concerning as you might think. Follow the tips in this video to wash your fruits and vegetables, and you should have nothing to worry about. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and don't forget to give this video the thumbs up. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy our next video on 15 best anti-inflammatory foods on the planet. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.